Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something you might not expect. How farming, one of the oldest things we do, is getting a massive upgrade from the cloud, one of the newest.
So, think about it for a second. What could your phone possibly have in common with a giant tractor? Well, the answer, believe it or not, is data. A ton of it. Both of them are basically becoming these super smart data collectors. And that single connection, it's changing agriculture in ways you wouldn't believe.
All right, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the big data problem farms have now. Then, we'll check out this new as-a-service solution. We'll peek inside the system, see how AI is predicting crops, look at how it performed in tests, and finally, wrap up with what this could mean for the future of farming.
So, first things first. To really get why this new solution is such a game changer, you have to understand the problem. And wow, is it a big one. Farming has officially crashed into the big data era.
I mean, we are talking about an absolute tsunami of information. You've got data coming from soil sensors, from the GPS on tractors, from weather satellites, from drones flying over the fields. You name it, it's generating data. This is so far beyond your grandfather's farm, it's more like a Silicon Valley data center plugged in the middle of a field.
Okay, so you see this number, 80.72 kilobytes per minute. And you might think, that's not a lot. But here's the kicker. That's the data coming in nonstop from just one single government source. Now imagine stacking that with data from drones, from tractors, from all those sensors. It becomes this relentless tidal wave of information. And the computers most farms have, they just can't keep up. And that's the bottom line, right? The old systems are totally breaking down. The software they've been using, it's just too slow. It runs out of storage. It can't grow as the data grows. It's exactly like trying to drink from a fire hose with a coffee stirrer. It's just not going to work. So, with this huge, almost impossible data problem, what do? Well, researchers looked over at the tech world and had a brilliant idea. They decided to build a whole new blueprint for how farming works. And they call it Agriculture as a Service, or AaaS for short. The idea is actually pretty genius in its simplicity. Instead of trying to crunch all this data on some computer in the barn, you just send it all to the cloud. This creates what they call an autonomic system, and that's a key word. It basically means the system is smart enough to run itself, delivering insights to farmers right when they need them, on demand. So the goal is pretty straightforward. Take that absolute chaos of raw data, shoot it up to the cloud where the supercomputers can make sense of it, and then beam back simple, here's what you should do insights right to a farmer's iPad. Okay, sounds amazing, right? But how does this whole thing actually work? Let's pop the hood and look at how it's all wired together. Whoa, okay. I know this looks like a super complicated flowchart, but don't panic. You don't need to read every little box. The main thing to get is that it's split into two big halves. Over here on the left, you've got the user subsystem. Think of that as the human side, farmers, experts, all the people. And on the right, that's the cloud subsystem. That's the engine room, where all the heavy lifting with the data happens. So that user side is really a whole community. You have the farmers, of course, they're asking the questions, but you've also got experts who are kind of fact-checking the system and adding their own wisdom. And then you have government officials who can use it to send out important info, like new policies. Everyone's connected. Now, over in the cloud, things get really interesting. Every single piece of data goes on a little journey, a 5-step process. It gets picked out, it gets cleaned up, then it's transformed so the computers can read it, then sorted into the right bucket, and finally, this is the important part, it's interpreted so that the answer it gives actually makes sense to a person. It's like a digital factory for turning messy data into actual knowledge.
Okay, but here's where it goes from just being clever to being kind of like magic. The system doesn't just organize data, it uses it to look into the future.
The brain behind all this is an AI model called K-nearest neighbor, or KNN. The easiest way to think about it is that the AI has basically read every farming textbook ever and studied thousands of real-world examples. It's learned to see patterns, like, okay, this soil with this temperature and this fertilizer, that usually leads to a great harvest, or a bad one. So a farmer can literally just type in a question, something like, okay, I'm planting soybeans. My soil is silty loam clay, temps are going to be between 21 and 27 degrees, and I'm using this pesticide and this fertilizer. What's my productivity going to look like? And boom,
Instantly, the AI scans its entire memory for situations that look just like that one. And based on what happened in all those past cases, it spits out a prediction. In this case, it says C, which means neutral productivity. And just like that, the farmer has a real, data-backed forecast instead of just a gut feeling.
But, a clever AI prediction is one thing. The real question is, does this whole system actually work better? Is it faster? Cheaper? So the researchers set up a head-to-head competition.
They put their new smart autonomic system in one corner, and in the other corner, a traditional non-autonomic system. The kind of system that's powerful, but kind of dumb about how it uses its power. It was the new smart way versus the old brute force way.
And the results were, well, they were pretty incredible. First up, cost. The smart autonomic system was more than 27% cheaper to run. Now, for a farmer, that's not just a small saving. That can be the difference between making a profit for the year or not. Then, let's talk about speed. It answered the farmer's questions almost 19% faster. And again, that sounds small, but if you're out in the field and you see a potential pest problem, getting an answer in 10 seconds instead of 12 could make all the difference. And last but not least, efficiency. This is really the secret sauce behind the other two results. The smart system used its computer power almost 32% more efficiently. It's like getting better gas mileage. It just does more with less, which leads to less waste and better performance all around. So, yeah, the numbers are fantastic. But let's zoom out for a second. What does all of this mean? What does it tell us about where farming is headed? Well, the researchers themselves really hit on the key point. The big breakthrough here isn't just about using the cloud, it's that word again, autonomic. The system is smart about how it uses its resources, it manages itself. And that self-awareness is the giant leap that separates it from everything that came before. Because in the end, this is bigger than just making farms a bit more efficient. This is about giving agriculture a brain. We are right at the beginning of a time when data can help us feed the world in a smarter, more sustainable way. And it leaves you with a really fascinating thought, doesn't it? If a farm can think, what's it going to tell us next?